Praise be to our Lord Jesus.
What is it, brother?
I've finished my work.
Show me what you've made. Spectacular, Gregor. You've found your talent. Soon enough, you'll be teaching the other novices. What is it, brother?
I'm interested in the election of the new abbot.
You're not alone. Everyone's so worked up about that, they spent no time considering how they could make the monastery a better place now.
Why? What's wrong with it now?
Many brothers think more about their stomachs than prayer. The older brethren bend the rules of the order to make them fit their interests. So, to balance the scales, they want the novices to lead exemplary lives. Sin abounds here, just as in the outside world.
I'd be interested to know more about Brother John.
I don't like to speak ill of people, but Circuitor John is the worst person the monks could pick to represent them. He's nothing but an old schemer and pedant who preaches water but drinks wine. He's won the older brethren over because they know he won't call an end to their debauchery.
Why do you want to become abbot?
Because when I see the way things are headed around here, I have no other option. Itinerant preachers speak of the corrupted black heart of the church, and I can't deny there's truth in what they say. I'd like to change things and bring back meaning and esteem to the monastery.
That's all. Thank you.
Peace be with you, brother. What do you desire?
Is there any way I could help you get elected? Somehow tip the scales in your favour?
What would you like to do? Climb up the tower and shout, "Vote for Nevillus, vote for Nevillus"?
Not exactly. You do have an opponent, John.
John isn't my opponent, he's my brother, just like you and everyone else here. We're all brothers in Christ. But there is something you could help me with. You must know there's a great deal of iniquity here in the monastery. I'd be interested to hear of anything I don't know about.
Should I find out for you what's going on around here?
Let me make this clear. I want to base my candidacy on putting things in order. But if I don't know exactly what's wrong, then my promises are just empty slogans.
Very good then. I'll find out what I can.
Thank you, brother.
What do you want me to find out?
I'd be interested to hear about any iniquity in the monastery. I need to prepare myself for what I'll be facing.
Is there any way I could...
What would you like to do?
Not exactly.
John isn't... But there is something you could...
That doesn't sound like...
Pity? What trouble? Talk to me.
forbidden books must be in that cabinet.
What is it, brother?
Oh, you're interested in what's inside? Forbidden books.
Is it possible to learn something about the other novices in the library?
Forget about
Only the abbot and the prior keep such records.
And can I see them?
No. The abbot writes and keeps his records in his chambers, and only he and the prior are permitted to read them.
I found this piece of parchment. It looks like it's been ripped out of a book. Do you know what it is?
It appears to be a page torn out of Ovid.
Ovid? What is that? Is it the name of a book?
Not what, but who. Ovid was a great Roman poet. We have a few volumes by him in the library, but one of them vanished one day. Now I believe I can guess what happened. Brother Eustace, may the earth rest lightly on him, was quite narrow-minded when it came to classical literature. If a book had any mention of woman at all, he condemned it as a heretical work. If he'd had his way, all such books would have been burned. Ovid's The Art of Love must have been such a thorn in his side that he stole it from the library, tore it up, and hid the pages wherever he could.
Can you tell me something about the book?
The Art of Love is a sort of manual instructing young people how to find and maintain love. It's a lovely work. I don't understand what bothered Eustace so much about it, but as I was saying, he considered the book to be immoral and tore it up to stop it corrupting any of his brothers.
Oh, would you like me to put the book back together again?
Absolutely! Eustace's wits weren't the sharpest, so I'm sure he didn't destroy any of the pages. I imagine he hid them throughout the monastery. It might take you a while to find them all, but when you do, you can rest assured Ovid will return to his rightful place in the library.
Good. I'll look around for it.
Thank you, brother. It's of no great importance, but if you can find all 10 pages, I'll be most grateful.
Where should I look?
If I knew, I wouldn't have asked you to do it. The pages of the book could be hidden anywhere, from the garden to the refectory.
I'm here to work.
Good. This is most likely the first time you've ever done this in your life. But it's easier than you think. Just a bit of practice and learning Latin. Here's the original, and here are the blank parchments on which you'll copy what you read in the original. Is that clear? Then you may begin, and try not to make a mess of it. Ah, Gregor.
I can hardly believe it. Good gracious, so many mistakes.
Praise be to Christ, brother.
Books stood in there aren't for your eyes to see. Talk to me, brother.
I'm Gregor, a novice.
I know. But I've no time for idle chat. I transcribe books from dawn till dusk. I've been doing it for years, and I'll be doing it till the day I die.
What, you do nothing else?
It is my penance and my blessing. And now, brother, if you don't mind, I'd like to get this page finished. What troubles you?
I'd like to ask about something.
Can't you see I'm working? Ask someone else.
Praise be to Christ.
Salve Domine.
Brother? What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be working somewhere? Idle hands are the devil's workshop.
I was feeling a bit queasy.
Really? This time I'll look the other way. But next time you won't get out of being punished.
Here the prophet shows that if the spirit of silence ought to lead us at times to refrain from good speech, so much the more ought to consider evil words. Therefore, since the spirit of silence is so important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even to perfect
Service.
silence, even though it be for good.
Praise be to Christ, brother.
Conversation. For it is written, in much speaking you will not escape sin. And in another place, death and life are in the power of the tongue.
You have some interesting skills for a monk. Don't suppose you want to tell me how you picked them up?
What's there to tell? We were all young and foolish once. I was a student in Prague, completely broke, living from hand to mouth and studying all day. It wasn't an easy life.
So you turned to stealing?
I set about securing a livelihood as best I could. A goose, some new shoes, a bit of coin to spend with my friends. Without that little bit extra, I'd never have completed my studies. I would have turned into a beggar. And who else do you know that can say he's serving God thanks to having been a thief?
No one, brother. Thank you for telling me your story.
They have professed, and the fear of hell, and the glory of life everlasting. And far from gaining a reward for such work,
I'd like to discuss...
he will incur the punishment
All right, so?
of murmurers unless he amend and make satisfaction. The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on the abbot. Therefore, when anyone receives the name of
Less.
abbot, he ought to govern his disciples with a twofold teaching. That is to say,
Finally,
he
a
should show them all
reasonable
that is
sum.
good and holy, by his deeds even more than by his words, expounding the Lord's commandments
Praise be to Christ,
and words
brother.
to the intelligent among his disciples.
Brother, I've a favour to ask.
Demonstrating the divine
And I think
precepts
you're the
by
man to help me
actions
with
to
it.
those of harder
Or
hearts
you used to
and
be,
ruder minds.
before you came
The
here.
abbot should
I see,
always
so it's the
remember what
dodgy
he is
sort
and
of
what he is
favour,
called,
is it?
and should know
Well,
that to
yes.
whom more is committed.
I need to get hold of the keys
From
to the
him,
monastery.
more is required. Let him
that
make
won't be
no
easy, I can tell you that
distinction
straight
of
off.
persons in the monastery.
The prior
Let him
always
not
keeps
love
the
one more than
keys
another,
close by him.
unless it be one
So how
whom he
exactly
finds
do you
better
imagine
in
I
good
could
works
help?
Or in obedience. And let him not shut his eyes to the faults of offenders, but since he
Could
has
you
the
take the
authority,
keys off
let
him?
cut out those
Rob
faults
the
by
prior?
roots as
You've
soon
got to
as
be
they
joking.
begin to appear.
You wouldn't be doing it for free?
Remembering
Then
the
what
fate
could you
of Heli,
possibly pay me?
priest of Silas,
I'm done
for
with my
well-disposed
thieving, and
from
you'd
those of
have
good
to offer me a
understanding,
whole
let him
lot of
correct
groschen to
with
change my
verbal
mind.
admonition the first
How
and
much
second
would you
time.
want?
But bold,
A princely
hard,
sum, brother.
proud, and
This is no
disobedient
trifling
character.
matter.
He should
That
curb
much?
at the very
Where am I
beginning of
supposed to
the
find that
inquiry
much
by
coin?
stripes
No
and
one here has
other
any money.
bodily punishments.
Precisely.
Knowing that it is written,
But no
"A
groschen,
fool is
no
not
theft.
corrected with words."
And think twice
And
before you
again,
ask me that kind of
beat your
favor
son
again.
with the rod, and you will deliver his soul from death. The rule of Saint
Brother,
Benedict,
well, yes.
things on daily manner.
I need to get hold of the key.
Idleness is the enemy of the soul. Therefore,
How could I get hold
should
of
be
them?
occupied at certain times
With great
manual
difficulty.
labor, and again at fixed
Unless
hours
you
of
want to rob the prior,
To that end, we think that the times for each may be prescribed as follows. From Easter until the calends of October.
Is there any other way to get out of...
The door out of the monastery is like any other. Only the lock's more complicated than most. But I can sell you some lock picks. And with a little training, you'll make short work of it.
After the 6th hour, having left the table, let them rest on their beds.
There's something else on my mind.
Or if anyone may
Brother,
perhaps want to
remember the
speak
vows you made.
to himself in such a
We're
way as
forbidden
not
to
disturb
leave the
anyone
monastery.
else.
It's not for me to sit in judgment, but
Early, at the middle of the
think
8th
hard
hour,
about what
let
you're
them
doing.
again do what work has to be done until Vespers. Weak or sickly brethren should be assigned a task or craft
I'm looking for
in
some...
nature as to keep them from idleness and at the same time not to overburden them or drive them away with excessive toil. Their weakness must be taken
Oh,
into
nothing, Rid.
consideration by the abbot. The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on the spirit of silence. Let us do what the prophet says. I said, I will guard my ways, that I may not sin with my tongue. I have set a guard to my mouth. I was mute and was humbled and kept silence even from good things. Here the prophet shows that if the spirit of silence ought to lead us at times to refrain even from good speech, so much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words.
I'm Gregor,
Therefore,
a novice.
since the spirit
I
of
saw you at the
silence
ceremony.
is so
I know. It was hard not to notice you.
And you are?
perfect disciples, even
Lucas, also a novice. Don't get upset, but I don't want to talk to you. I'm happiest alone.
speaking, you will not escape sin. And in another place, death and life.
Will you tell me something about yourself?
There's nothing I can tell you.
The master.
I mean, where you're from, what sort of life you had before, that sort of thing.
I'm a novice, and my monastic name is Lucas. Nothing else matters.
And submission inspired by reverence. But as for coarse jests and idle
Come on.
words or words that
Is there really nothing at all you can tell me?
we condemn
I could, but I don't want to. I'm sorry. I want to stay focused on work and prayer, not on who I once was. I never will be again. What has been isn't important for us. We cast the past aside when we walked through the monastery gates and took our oath. Never forget that.
This is the virtue of those who hold nothing dearer to them than Christ, who, because of the holy service, they
I'd like to know something about the other novices.
I don't know much, but ask away.
as soon as anything has been ordered by the superior, receive it
What can you tell me about Siskin?
and cannot suffer
Not a lot. I don't know him. Actually, I don't know much about him at all. Except that he's not a stickler for rules.
what is commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection. For the obedience given to superiors is given to God. For if the disciple obeys
Tell me about Antonius.
not
I'd
necessarily
like to, but there's nothing to tell. I've never spoken to him. I've never asked about him.
his work will not be acceptable to God.
You really don't know anything about anyone?
Is murmuring.
Well, thanks anyway.
Gaining a reward for such work,
Don't get upset.
he will incur
I'm sorry I can't tell you more. I just haven't felt like getting to know anyone yet.
the rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on the abbot. Therefore, when anyone receives the name of abbot,
If you could, who would you vote for to be the abbot?
But I can't vote. So what's the point of worry? Ask Antonius. He often talks about it, and I'm sure he has an opinion.
Expounding the Lord's commandments in words to the intelligent among his disciples, but demonstrating the divine precepts by his actions for those of harder hearts and ruder minds. The abbot should always remember what he is and what he is called, and should know that to
Greetings, brother. I'm Gregor, and I'm new here.
from him
Greetings to you, brother.
let him
I'm Yodok, the oldest of the novices. I hope you'll like it here in the monastery and that you won't get into trouble.
Trouble?
better in good works or in
You're young, perhaps intemperate. You might easily stray from the rules of the order. I suggest you get to know the older monks. You never know when it might come in handy.
soon as they begin to appear. Remembering the fate of Heli, the priest of silence.
I'm interested in the other novices.
And those of good understanding, let him correct with
What can you tell me about Siskin?
second time.
Oh, he's always got a smile on the new friend. But I reckon he don't belong in the monastery. He spends more time dreaming of the world outside than tending to his duties. I'm surprised he hasn't been thrown out already. If it was up to me, he'd be out on his ear right away.
And again, beat your son with the rod, and you will deliver his soul.
Sounds like you don't have much time for him.
I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. Believe me, Gregor, he's hiding something from us. In fact, now I come to think of it, I haven't seen him at morning prayers for a while.
What can you tell me?
Oh, he's always got a smile on the new friend. But I reckon he don't belong in the monastery. He spends more time dreaming of the world outside than tending to his duties. I'm surprised he hasn't been thrown out already. If it was up to me, he'd be out on his ear right away.
Do you know anything about Antonius?
Only that he came to the monastery voluntarily, because he didn't want to work in his father's shop. Antonius is all right. You can rely on him. He won't betray your confidence. He's always happy to help, which is more than can be said for the other brothers.
I'm interested in Lucas.
Nobody knows much about Lucas. He keeps himself to himself. If you ask me, he's got something to hide. I'd keep well clear of him if I was you.
Do you have any grounds for suspecting him of something?
Quite a lot. And also none at all. The circators who make the rounds despise him, and they'd never punish anyone without cause.
Can you tell me something about yourself?
I would if there was anything noteworthy to say. But I'm just the ordinary son of a landowner, now a monk. There's nothing in my past, present, or future that anyone could find interesting.
Why did you join the monastery?
Because it was better than living in poverty. As the youngest son, I'm not entitled to inherit my father's estate, but he was kind enough to sell off some cattle and send me here. And you know what? I'm glad to be here. It's better than mucking out manure.
Who would you vote for as the new abbot if you could?
Why do you care? We don't have the right to vote, so we shouldn't get mixed up in it.
I'm just interested, that's all.
I like John better. But like I've said, it's not our place to get involved. It's enough that Antonius is mixed up in it. Don't you start too.
The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on the abbot. Therefore, when anyone receives the name of abbot, he ought to govern his disciples with a twofold teaching. That is to say, he should show them all that is good and holy, by his deeds even more than by his words, expounding the Lord's commandments in words, demonstrating the divine precept.
I'm a new brother, a novice, Gregor. I don't know my way around here yet. You're in charge of the whole monastery, aren't you?
Welcome amongst us. Yes, yes. The Lord wanted me to take over the abbot's duties in his absence, but mainly I'm a servant of God, just like you and all the other brethren. Before God, there's no difference between us. How do you like it here?
It's wonderful here.
I'm glad to hear it. May your enthusiasm last.
Will you tell me something about how the abbot is elected?
Of course. Abbot Peter is old, and we're afraid he'll soon be with our Heavenly Father. When he's gone, someone else will have to lead the monastery. All the elder brothers will assemble to choose who that is.
Anyone can become the abbot?
Precisely. We have two candidates, Nevlas and John. As the spiritual shepherd of all of the brothers here, I'm not allowed to publicly express a preference for either. And as a novice, you shouldn't be involved in the election. I know that some brothers have already begun scheming, but don't even think about getting mixed up in it. With the blessing of the Holy Spirit, all will end up as it should be.
Brother, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be working somewhere? Idle hands are the devil's workshop.
I had other affairs that needed to be attended to immediately. It will never happen again.
Really? I'll pretend nothing happened, but this is the last time, brother.
God be with you.
Peace be with you, brother.
Peace be with you, brother.
Peace be with you, brother.
Abbot Peter's health is deteriorating. He won't make it to the autumn.
No, no. Peter has a strong constitution. He'll still be on this earth for many years to come.
I wish all good health upon him. But I want change, and only a new abbot can bring that.
Waiting pays off. There's no hurry.
There's dozens of them. And foreign heathens too. Is that right? There was a great...
Praise be to Christ. I'm still curious about this treasure trove of yours.
It's no big terrible secret. Really, it isn't. I just go and read during services.
What kind of a book is it?
I found it here in the library. It was on a shelf where it should never have been. So I hid it to read later. It's the Necronomicon. Ghosts, demons, and invocations of powers beyond our world. Only it's written in a strange language that I can't really make sense of. All bara this and bara that. Who knows what it means? I tried to count the syllables, read the words backwards, but nothing. I'm not getting anywhere with it.
Oh, I'm not too sure what the prior or the cicada would say about a book like that. Actually, what anyone would say. It sounds quite prohibited.
Ah, prejudice. But you're right, it is prohibited. For no good reason, though. Has knowledge ever done anybody any harm?
You're right. Knowledge should never be prohibited.
Oh, I'm glad you agree. Just take a look at the book. Maybe you'll be able to make some sense of it. I haven't grasped a single syllable. Just please don't tell anyone about the book. If the brothers learn that I took it from the library and hid it, I'll be in a lot of trouble. Our brothers' minds are closed to a thirst for knowledge.
There's a lot of coin in the stash. You have to admit it looks suspicious.
I admit it might look that way. But if I tell you what I'm hiding from everybody, I think you'll understand why. I hate to think of all I lost when they stuck me in here. And also because I really hate the question, aren't you the son of the famed Sir Smil Flashka of Pardubitz? I was rich and I had everything. But then my father began to feel his time approaching, so he decided to send a son to the monastery. And, being the youngest, the lot fell on me. I've no head for managing the estate, and they said I'd squander it. Can you imagine? Me, in a monastery. So I took what coin I could from home with me, so I didn't lose out completely.
What about the dagger?
That's a memento of better times. Father gave me that when I was a little lad. And it's done right by me more than once, when I got drunk somewhere with the wrong sort of people.
Do you know how to fight?
And how? Boozing and brawling. God, how I miss that here.
I see. And if you give me a few coins for myself, I won't tell anyone else about it.
What? A man pours his heart out to you when you play Judas. How about this for an offer? Say a word about this to anyone and I'll wring your neck. Touch anything I've buried here and you'll get the same. Are we clear? Praise be to Christ.
Will you tell me something?
Look, nothing against you, but I prefer not to talk about my past.
Very well.
Thank you. It's no big...
What kind?
Who knows?
Oh. If it wasn't harmful, it wouldn't be forbidden?
That's a rather limited view of the world. Some write about the saints, others about demons, and an educated person should know both. Pity I can't understand a word it says, and I've been trying for quite a while. Just please don't tell anyone about the book. If the brothers learn that I took it from the library and hid it, I'll be in a lot of trouble. Our brothers' minds are closed to a thirst for knowledge. I hate to think of... I was rich. I've no...
What about the dagger?
And...
That's all I wanted.
Please keep...
I'd be interested... I'm interested in Yodok.
What could interest you about him? He's a no-good rat. He'll turn you in for the price of a turnip. I'd bet my life that if he wasn't here, he'd be a cumin scout, bowing and scraping for a few groschen.
That doesn't sound too flattering.
It wasn't meant to. No matter what you do here, watch out for him. He's got his eye on everyone, and he'll rat on you for even the slightest of infractions.
What can you tell me about Lucas?
It's a tricky situation with Lucas. No one really knows anything about him. I've tried so many times to talk to him, but he always backs away like a virgin on a wedding night.
That's all. Thanks.